Hi everyone, it's Simon from High Plane Games with the latest July update of 20 tracks that I recommend downloading from the Steam workshop for GeneRally 2. We're kicking off with KubixekV's Red Bull Ring, which is my star rating track for July. It's absolutely superb. It's easily the most detailed and beautiful real-world circuit that has been pulled out there so far to date. The AI are usually very good round here too, but KubixekV has pulled together so many fantastic tracks. I'm probably going to do a video for them all on their own, to be fair. But this is, for me, currently their chef's kiss piece de resistance. Just great fun to drive and play. So, highly recommended. Grab this one now. Next up, by Mika, is BlackRock. And the reason why I really enjoyed this one is because the first section plays out like moguls because of the way how the camber kind of bounces you from corner to corner. So it just reminded me of that ski sport. But also every other corner on the track has weird camber. Now I can see some drivers kind of going, this feels weird and wrong, but I found it really challenging and fun to drive because it just, every corner was not the corner that I'd set up to be expected to drive. So it kept me on my toes. Next up by machosleaze is Asriygi. I'm going to butcher some of these names. I found this track really fun to drive, proper old school GeneRally style. My caveat with this is that some of the checkpoints are really bang on the racing line. So the AI doesn't always get counted as you go around the track, so it could probably use with a little kind of tweak to be more generous, one or the other. But I also found that if you was properly full on the curbs, it didn't count your laps, so just be wary of that one. Next up by Steve is Forest. Forest comes in a couple of different variants, and I chose the Forest one specifically because when I first downloaded this track and started to play it, I was like, hang on, the road doesn't work. And then you've got these little flappy bollards that you bounce and fly over through. And I just found that fun and quirky and reminded me of like Rally X, basically. And yeah, really fun layout, very simple, but just an effective twist on what you normally see out there. That's Steve's Forest. Next up is Spit by Mythox423. And again, this is around some really good gradient-y stuff by being able to do that roundabout up onto the bridge and back over again. This reminds me of if Laguna Seca had a roundabout in the middle of it, or like a little car park spiral. Really good fun. Fun to drive. The AI is very good round it too, actually, it must be said. Next up is Exy's XE14 circuit. So every Exy track is uploaded with a number on it. This reminded me of Suzuka crossed with Tsukuba. And again, very, very fun to play and drive, particularly because of the way how the first sector is with its sweeping S-snake. You can almost straight line it, but you can't. So you have to be very, very careful with it all. And I had a few races with this where I'd connect with some of the AI and just kind of bundle off into the barrier spectacularly. dburitto's General 2 whipped corners does work best with general cars, but again, this reminds me of if a GeneRally track was a roller coaster, because everything was just so high banked and fun. This doesn't work quite so well with the faster cars on the track, but I found it exceptionally fun to play with some of the slower stuff. And as you can see, we're in the hot hatches here, so or the classic cars, so it works quite well. On the flip side, Enforcer's continuation of their tracks inspired by team logos. This is the Miami Dolphins track, and this just screamed, I bet IndyCar would build this. And that's why I put it into this one. Again, just like with KubixekV's, I find most of Enforcer's tracks to be some of the best tracks that are out there and most inventive for unique ones. So I'd probably do a whole video on these tracks in the future too. Great fun. Next up is Swakes by Inkballer, sorry. And again, this reminds me a little bit of like a mixture of various different classic tracks. And again, because you're going right the way up to the top of the hill and then cascading your way back down again, I could feel Laguna Seca vibes taking place here, but with a few other kind of tracks for good measure, so I had good fun with that one. Watch out for the AI lines. And same for Volcano by Park313. So again, I've barely seen anyone use the red marker. So I thought this Volcano one was a good piece of fun and comedic value. Again, this works best with the faster cars, not the slower ones. Spot my problem trying to get over the hump. Then we've got Turtle Beach Raceway by STBN72. Or Esteban72, I guess. This is great fun. This reminds me of if you could do motocross with, like, if there was ever a bike car to come to GeneRally 2, this would be the circuit that I'd test it on first so far, because it's got all of those kind of little bunny hop jumps. Lots of fun to be had. Again, works better with faster cars because you're able to clear the jumps quite nicely. SD Raceway by SlowDieZel is a fun track to race. What I will say is that sadly some of the checkpointing didn't quite work so well with the AI cars, so just be careful of that. But what I really liked again is it's going back to that old school of putting in the bollards around the insides of the curbs, so if you try to cut things, because there's a lot of cuttable bouncy chicanes here, it will send you spearing off, so you have to be precise and exacting. Yeah, really good fun. They've also got my level of being able to draw a corner, which kind of made me feel a bit better about uploading my own track, which is not the best. Birchwood Hills Raceway by DJ Belch01 is another just great fun track. And I think my theme this month is Snake S's, because there's so many good tracks out there that have got slightly different versions of Snake S's that either pinch point somewhere or flow just to the point where you have to feather the throttle and kind of get round nicely. And this one has a faster first snake compared to the second one, so you just have to be careful with that. I really love Circular Motion by JANTSUU. Watch the AI battling me with this, because that kind of final hairpin is like a half pipe bank, and I go in too deep and everyone mugs me for it. But this is a fantastic circuit. I'd love to see this one built in real life. I think it could be absolutely hilarious to watch. God, could you imagine 42 cars going around on NASCAR on that and just bundling into that hairpin? Carnage and chaos. Give me more. Mora circuit by Sirgiiii or Sirgiiii is another good fun one, reminding me of various different circuits across the UK combined, actually. I was getting Snetterton vibes, I don't know why, crossed with brands. But yeah, another good fun circuit to drive, lots of real sweepy corners that then lead into hairpin switchbacks that just, because no corner was the same, each one had its own challenge as well. A little bit of gradient here and there, but largely it's all about getting the perfect line through, and it was a good challenge to be had. Goretto by megaGIGAjoule has some checkpoint issues for the AI, but as an actual circuit to drive, this is a how to do 90 corner bends and use the tyre barriers to delineate circuits. I used to do this quite a lot on GeneRally 1 track builds, and I'm going to start doing it with GeneRally 2 as well. But yeah, it's just a really effective way of being able to make your circuit be longer and more maze-like as you go around, enjoying yourself. But yeah, that's a good one to have. First of two circuits here by Strava on this top 20. Mosport 67 just has such a nice flow to it. I had to include it. But Strava has been going through and putting in real-world circuits. And again, I want to do a video on Strava's work so far as they build up more and more tracks, because they have a very particular, almost pointy, messy grass vibe to it that gives it a retro sheen. And I don't know how they do it, but I really enjoy like that vibe and art style, and you can spot a Strava track from a mile off. K3 from KKR12, again, reminds me a little bit of Bahrain crossed with Shanghai. Now, it's closer to Shanghai than it is than Bahrain, but it's all slightly wonky, so it doesn't feel like it so much as well. But again, KKR12 has got loads and loads of tracks that are out there. This is K3, so at least 1 and 2 exist. I find them quite fun and enjoyable to drive, and you can kind of spot the real world track from it. Willowbrook by rforeman has every single drivable terrain, And I just like the way how it feels like a retro Mario Kart crossed with Ivan Iron Man track, from the way how the camera is like dropped down and the very like almost block placed layout of how this track works. But the different terrains really make a difference, because the first gravel is actually quite nice and simple to get around. Mud is slippery. Then the sand at the back slows you down to a crawl. And then the ice and snow towards the end is so slippery. You have to so gingerly get round that double hairpin. Otherwise you just end up kind of spearing off and back on the other side of the circuit. And you're like, So a real fun challenger there. The final track is by Strava, and it's Sviestad. And again, look at the way how Strava does this kind of, I guess, summer grass look, because you can see that it's not all green, it's got some brown in there as well. And again, this is another fantastic track. So simple, beautifully put together, feels like I'm driving in the 1960s and 50s again, and it's just great fun to have. And that is my top 20 GeneRally 2 recommended tracks to download. I hope this is enjoyable. I'll be back in August with another 20. And yeah, happy creating. I'm loving this GeneRally revolution. Higher Plane Games is part of the Higher Plane Network, a completely independent media outlet supported by people like you. The goal is to create the best possible content that cultivates a richer indie scene for games as well as music and entertainment. To find out more and to get involved, visit patreon.com/higherplane-network. Your support makes all the difference, and in return you'll gain access to bonus content and downloads. Thank you for watching.